Hey guys, it's Hannah, and today we're going to be talking about the top 10 books I want to read this summer. So I've seen a few people around BookTube do this video already, and I thought that it was a great idea because there are definitely some books that I plan to get to this summer, and I thought it would be fun to share them with you guys. But before we get into the books, I just wanted to make two quick announcements. First, I was involved in a very cool collab over on Elizabeth Page's channel, and she organized this entire thing where she brought a bunch of us booktubers together and asked us if we wanted to do a lip sync video to Hamilton. So that's what we did, and it's myself and a bunch of other wonderful booktubers lip syncing to Alexander Hamilton. So it's Alexander Hamilton BookTube edition. And I will leave the video linked on the screen as well as down in the description box so you can go check it out. And I highly recommend that you do because it was a lot of fun. Each of us played a different character. I was Eliza. It was great. Elizabeth did a wonderful job editing the whole thing together, and I'm so happy she asked me to be a part of it. It was so much fun and it came together so wonderfully. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that if you didn't already know. And the second announcement that I have is also extremely exciting, and that is that I am going to be at VidCon this year. I realized that I hadn't even mentioned this on my channel at all, and VidCon is next week, so I thought that it was about time that I probably said something about it. So I'm going to be there for all 3 days of VidCon. I'm going to be at the BookTube panel and at the BookTube book swap and meetup and everything, and I will also be at the Booksplosion Barnes & Noble event on the day before VidCon. I'm really excited about going. I am also really nervous because I'm going alone, so I am not really sure how it's going to go. I feel like I'm gonna end up being alone for the entire time, and I'm anxious about all of that, but I feel like it's still going to be a lot of fun. There are lots of great panels that I want to go to, and I can't wait for it because it's in a week and it's too soon, but it's also not close enough. So if you are going to VidCon, please let me know. I would definitely love to meet you and hang out with you. Like I said, I'm just really anxious that I'm going to end up being all by myself, so it would be really nice to be with a few people. So that is it for all of my announcements, and without any further ado, let's get into the top 10 books I want to read this summer. So the first book that I really want to read this summer is actually one that I've already started, and that is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. I've heard some mixed reviews about this book. Some people really love it and say that it was one of the best books they've ever read and it made them cry, and other people have critiqued it a bit and said that it is possibly somewhat ableist. I just started it. I'm about 5 chapters into it, so like 60 pages. So far, I don't really have any opinion on it. The story is just kind of getting started. It's a little bit slow for now, but I'm excited to see where it goes and to see what my thoughts are on it. I also really wanted to read this summer because the movie for it just came out, and I want to be able to go and watch that after I read this. So hopefully I will finish this one pretty soon. The next book I plan on reading this summer is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is a pretty popular book here on BookTube, but for those of you who may not know, it is a heist novel that takes place in the Grisha verse, which is part of like the Grisha trilogy, which is Leigh Bardugo's other series. I haven't read that series, but the premise for this series really interested me, so I decided that I would pick this one up. And I believe we follow 6 characters, and it's told from all of their points of view, and it just sounds really interesting. It's fantasy. It takes place in some form of like a fictional Russia, I believe. It's also really beautiful because it has these black trimmed pages, and the second book in the duology comes out in, I believe, September, so I want to get to it this summer so I can pick the next one up when it comes out. The next book I have on my list is Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. I've been borrowing this book from a friend for probably like a year now, and I still haven't read it, which is terrible of me, and I really need to get to it. It's very short. I can probably read it in one sitting. I don't know too much about this story. I know that it's about a man who owns a bookstore, as the title also points out. I don't really want to know too much about the plot. I kind of just want to read it and have it unfold and figure things out for myself. But I have heard great reviews, and I think it might be somewhat like magical realism. Like it might have some of those like whimsical elements to it. And if it does, I know that I'll thoroughly enjoy it because I love magical realism. So I'm hoping to get to this one pretty soon as well. The next book that I want to read this summer is Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. I've been wanting to read it ever since I read Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe, synopsis because it has been compared to that one in some ways. The plot of this book follows the main character, Simon, who is gay, but he's in the closet, and he starts emailing this other guy who goes to school with him, and then someone finds out and threatens to blackmail him and out him. So it sounds really, really interesting to me. It's gotten some great reviews from some people that I really trust, and hopefully I enjoy it as well. The next book that I have on my list is I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. This book just looks like summer to me. It looks like sunshine, there's sun in the title, and I feel like summer is just the perfect time to read this one. This book is about these twins named Jude and Noah, and the two of them are extremely close, but then after a few years, they become really, really distant and isolated from one another, and they're not really talking at all. And it's about their relationship and their lives and family and friendship and love and everything that I feel like I will love. It's gotten fantastic reviews and won several awards, and I'm hoping that I also love it. And I definitely plan on getting to this one very, very soon, probably after I finish Me Before You. The next book that I want to read this summer is The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. I've had this book also since December, and I still haven't gotten around to it, but I've been wanting to read it so, so badly. I don't know the specific details of the plot of this book because I've been trying to avoid them, but from the general synopsis, what I understand about this book is that it's not about the chosen one. It's about kind of like the sidekicks to the heroes, the people who are just there, but not usually your main focus of the story. And that premise just sounds so wonderful to me, so I'm really, really excited to read this one, and again, I really hope I enjoy it, but I definitely think I will because it sounds right up my alley. The next book that I have here is technically not one book, but an entire series, and that is The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. So I've already read The Raven Boys, and I'm about halfway through The Dream Thieves, but my goal is to complete the whole series this summer. I don't really know how to give a synopsis of this series without spoiling things, but essentially these books are about these 4 Southern prep school boys and this girl named Blue, and they all go on these adventures looking for ghosts and talking to the dead and just a bunch of like supernatural things. And it's a fantastic series. I'm loving it so far, and I really cannot wait to finish it off, but I also don't want to because I don't want it to end. The next book that I have here is also part of a series, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I recently just finished Vicious, which I will talk more about in my wrap-up, so I don't want to spoil things about my thoughts here, but I'll just say I loved it, so I decided that I want to pick up V.E. Schwab's next book, and this is the other one that I own, and I'm really, really excited to start reading this one. This is a fantasy series that takes place in London, but there are like parallel versions of London based off of different colors, I believe. That premise just sounds awesome to me, so I'm really excited to start reading this series. I've actually heard some mixed reviews on this series. There are some people who I know who didn't really like it very much, and there are other people who really loved it, so I don't know what I'm gonna feel. We will see once I read it, but I'm hoping that I do end up enjoying it. The next book on my list is Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I have also been borrowing this book from the same friend that I was borrowing Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore. I also haven't read it since she lent it to me like a year ago, and I'm a terrible friend. This is another one of those books that I don't really know the synopsis of because I don't really want to know what it's about, but from what I can gather, it is about this boy who finds this book titled Shadow of the Wind, and he ends up loving this book and falls in love with it, and he wants to find the rest of the works that were written by this author, but then he finds out that they're periodically being destroyed. So it just sounds really, really interesting. I've heard that it has kind of like magical, whimsical elements to it, and that sounds wonderful to me. A lot of people have loved this book. My friend who gave it to me to borrow loves this book, and she's pressuring me to read it all the time. So I definitely plan to get to this summer, and I will read it. And finally, the last book on my list is In Perfect Light by Benjamin Alire Sanz. Sanz is the author of Aristotle and Dante Discovered the Secrets of the Universe, which is one of my all-time favorite books, and I have had this sitting on my shelf for a while now, and I still haven't touched it. So I'm making this summer the time that I finally get to it. Again, I don't know too much about the synopsis of this because I don't want to know about it, but just the first sentence of the synopsis I feel like is enough for me to read, And it says, "In Perfect Light is the story of two strong-willed people who are forever altered by a single tragedy." And that sounds horribly depressing, but also extremely wonderful because I love his writing, love his storytelling, and I cannot wait to read this book and more of his books. So that is it, guys, for the top 10 books I want to read this summer. So let me know in the comments down below if any of these books are on your list to read this summer, or if you've read any of them already, or let me know which ones I should get to first. And again, don't forget to go check out the BookTube Hamilton video on Elizabeth's channel, and also don't forget to let me know if you are going to VidCon, because I really would love to meet you and love to hang out with you there. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!